And welcome to the Gaston County Progressive Coalition uh, Political Forum. And we're thankful to have each and every one of you here. We're also thankful for all of those that are watching by way of Facebook and YouTube Live. Before any great or important undertaking, we should always invoke the aid of deity. And we're going to take just a moment to introduce our president, and he's going to come with the opening prayer. Our president is Reverend Greg Floyd, and he will go ahead and do that now, and I'll come back with the further instructions.
Good evening. Let's bow our heads. To the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God that never slumbers nor sleeps, here we are, Lord, in the midst of another day's journey. Come by to say thank you. Thank you for traveling grace and mercy. Thank you for how you protected us in spite of ourselves. And now, Lord, we come for this political forum to be educated and to discuss the issues that are at hand. But most of all, God, we want to do it according to your will and your way. Not our will, but your will be done. We ask you, oh God, for each candidate that they would be honest and abide by, oh God, the rules that have been set will be set before us. We ask you, oh God, that you continue to bless the moderator as he continues to lead and direct the Gaston County Progressive Coalition in its political endeavors. We ask you, oh God, for all of the members of the Progressive Coalition that you would continue to keep us mindful of the fact that we are our brother's keepers and the God that we need to just be aware of what's going on in our surroundings. We pray right now, God, for the safety and for the arrival of those that will continue to be traveling. We ask it in the mighty, matchless, and wonderful name of him who we call Jesus. And every heart says, Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Once again, we just want to take a moment to welcome everyone to this political forum. And I am the host pastor, Reverend Dr. Pierre J. Crawford. I'm the senior pastor here for the last 23 years at Center Baptist Church. And for those of you that may be on your way, we're located at 3301 South New Hope Road in Gastonia, 3301 South New Hope Road. So feel free to come on. For those that are watching as well, we do want to make mention that we know that some are in your cars. Just got a few text messages that some are trying to come down Interstate 85. That might come up tonight, so be ready for that. About an expansion, just saying. But some are on there and they're trying to get here. So we're thankful for those that have went ahead and took the time to text. We do want to give you heads up. It's early, and we're going to pass this out a little bit later. The political forum for the fall will be October the 3rd. That's the first Monday, October the 3rd. We want you to be ready to come back for getting ready for November. You got to get past this primary first, so we're looking forward to that. We do want you to know that masks are optional. You can feel free to wear your mask or not, but we do ask that you, if you don't, be careful about social distancing. If somebody just gives you a fist pump, that's as far as they want to go. I'm a hugger, but if they do fist pump, that's fine. So we ask that you would please respect that. Our YouTube channel, for those of you that are present, is Center Baptist Church. So you can text that to anyone you would like, just Center Baptist Church YouTube channel. Our Facebook Live is Center Baptist Church, Gastonia, North Carolina. And if you need conference call or whatnot, you can text me and I can send you that information. My number is 704-747-8784. Once again, my phone number is 704-747-8784. So tonight's agenda, we open up with prayer. Our purpose for the political forum is very simple. We want to meet the candidates. We want the candidates to meet us. We want to know who they are, get text messages, get phone numbers. If you want to help them in their campaign, there's a table set up over here. And if you haven't put your campaign information up there yet, you can feel free to go ahead and put your information there. and people can get it at their leisure. Feel free to move about within the congregation. But we want to have a positive, very positive, very positive way of introducing ourselves to everybody that is watching and everybody that is here. Keep in mind also, most of the time we'll have a few hundred that are picking up later on that are not here right now by way of Facebook and YouTube. So make sure you kind of look at that red light up there at the camera when you're talking, because you're talking to not just the ones that are here. So we're thankful for that. But in having a positive one, I've learned that you don't have to put someone else down to make yourself look good. Most of the time, the people that are out there are putting others down are doing a good job of making themselves look bad. So they're doing good all by themselves. If you stay focused on what you come here to do, which is you come to let us know who you are, what you're running for, what's your passion. Why do you want to run? Why do you want me to vote for you? I live here in Gaston County, right down the street in Jefferson Woods. So why do you want me to vote for you? That's what I want to hear about tonight. You may mention that you are in more qualified than your candidate. That's under the one that is running opposing you. I can understand that, but I do want to know, why do you want to run? So we're going to do that on tonight. We have several that have called. I'm not going to try to go through all of the list. I pretty much reached out to everybody that was somebody, and everybody else, I asked them to reach out to everybody else, and so that's how we are at this particular point on tonight. Now, I'll take care of the moderatorship as far as the night. It will be timed, so let me help you out just a little bit here. What we're going to do is you have 3 to 5 minutes to give your stump speech. Introduce yourself, your name, office sought, and the platform for which you're running. Afterwards, we'll have a Q&A, and we'll have 2 mics right here that you'll be able to come up and you'll be able to ask your questions to any candidate. At 9 o'clock sharp, we will stop. Finished or not, we'll stop at 9 o'clock. And then from 9 to 9:30, we'll stay in and mingle and talk to one another and see if you have any other questions. That's how we're going to carry it out. 9:30, we're going to lock the doors, so you can go ahead and stay out in the parking lot as long as you want. But I know how it is when you're running for a particular office. You need to get some sleep, so you need to go home, get some sleep. Some of you got to go work the next day, what have you. So we want to go ahead and cut it off in here, but you can stay out in the parking lot as long as you want. All right? And so, with that being said, at 9 o'clock, once again, stay from 9 to 9:30, and we'll move from there. Now, if anyone here from Greek letter fraternities and sororities, if you want to come over and see me, if you have anything that you want to interject, feel free to do that. You can come over to the pew up here up front while we're doing this. But what we're going to do now is we're going to start on my right, right here on my left, your right, and we're going to work our way on down that way. And as you go ahead, yeah, I'll come right there. And as you go ahead and do your stump speech, you can go ahead and leave your mic there in the chair. The production ministry will take care of that. And you can just have a seat, if you will, close to up front. If you can sit on the front pew, that would probably be good, because someone may ask a question they want to point out to you. You'll be able to come to a mic very quickly. So once you leave the seat, any other candidate that is running, you feel free to come on up and have a seat. Is that what you going to ask me about? All right. I know, I got you. No problem, I got you squared away. As soon as one leaves, you can feel free to come on and have a seat. And once again, 3 to 5 minutes. It will be timed. You have that for your stump speech. So, are there any questions before I go ahead and ask our president if he has any remarks before we start this forum? All right. Our president is going to give his remarks, and right after that, I'll come up and we'll start the forum. and we'll be timing you 3 to 5 minutes.
Thank you, brother moderator and my friend. We're living in a climate that has been toxic, divided, and we are trying to find folk that's trying to bring the temperature down in this climate. As a pastor in this area, as a community leader, I'm looking for candidates that are not coming to sling mud, but coming to tell us how we can do better as people, how we can treat each other better, how we can get along better in a society that seems like is going haywire. I'm interested in what you have to say because, again, I have grandchildren coming up. I have family and friends that I have to go back and say to them, this is the best candidate. This is what I heard. This is what I believe to be their platform. So I want to hear tonight from what you have to say from your heart. I want to hear what you have to say tonight to help us to become a better community, a better people, and not a more divisive people. It's time for us to get back on track of trying to be our brother's keeper, our sister's keeper, and our family community leaders that we know we can be. I want to hear the better part of you tonight, not the worst part of you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. We appreciate your remarks and well said for the climate in which we're in. At this time, you can feel free to adjust the podium any kind of way you want. You can come here or you can sit there, whichever one you want. And at this time, we'll hear from our first speaker.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Hyman, and I'm running for District Court Judge here in Gastonia County. A little about me. I'm a daughter of 2 proud Army officers. I grew up in a military family where my parents instilled in me values I hold to my core today. Family values, law and order, respect, dedication, and you're only as good as your word. These are values that I've taken with me throughout my childhood, my education, and my career. I went to college in South Carolina at a small place called Francis Marion University. If you've ever gone to Myrtle Beach, you've driven right by it. And it's a wonderful place where I learned to grow as a human and and I expanded my knowledge there. I was a Division I soccer player there, and while I also received a BS in environmental chemistry. The day after graduation, I decided I was going to go to law school, and my parents left. But that career path has led me to where I am today. Upon graduation from law school, I worked for a nonprofit in Charlotte, North Carolina called Safe Alliance, helping victims of domestic violence. From there, I worked at a small private law firm, dealing with a wide array of matters from estates, criminal law, family law, more domestic violence, some juvenile work representing parents in abuse, neglect, and dependency cases. Although I loved my legal career, I knew something was missing, and it was a calling to give back to my community. From there, for the past 7 years, I've worked at social services. I've represented children in abuse, neglect, and dependency cases. I've represented clients in child support enforcement cases, and I've represented respondents in guardianship cases in which they have been alleged to have been abused, neglected, or exploited. My time at social services has taught me many things. I've learned to deal on a daily basis. I deal with many of the issues our community faces: homelessness, the opioid epidemic, mental health issues. These are all issues that are core to the problems of our community. And I do believe those issues are things that we need to bring to our bench. I guess a little bit more about me. My husband and I live in Belmont, North Carolina. We have 2 small children, a 1-year-old and a 6-year-old. And without them, I don't think I would be here today. My 3 main platforms are family values, law and order, and respect. My children play a vital role in all 3 of those. My greatest joy in life is raising my 2 beautiful children, and I think the best way to keep them safe is to keep my entire community safe. So therefore, I am stepping up as one person who's trying to make a difference and actually care about the people in our community and our children and their safety. Our children shouldn't have to worry about guns and things like that in school. We need judges on the bench that are going to help protect our community. I'm also running on a platform of law and order. If anything that the past, as we've heard today, has taught us is that we're in a very divided country, a divided county, and a divided world at this time. And I think the best way to go about bringing up some harmony from a judicial perspective is to enforce law and order. It's not to legislate from the bench. It's not to impose my will and my personal values on those before me. It is to act on the laws as they are written. And that is what I promise to you today. I promise to uphold the laws as they are written and enforce them justly to ensure that the appropriate punishments are exacted. Should a 16-year-old who got caught driving with a little bit of pot get the max sentence? No, we need to find there needs to be a better way. Should a habitual felon that has attacked women and children be given a small bond? No, we need to protect our community, but there needs to be some leniency and some common sense to do that. And again, that is what I will bring to the bench. My third platform is respect, something that was instilled in me from a young age as an Army officer's daughter. It's something that is crucial to our courtroom. Nobody that walks into a courtroom is, you know what, this is the best day of my life. I am excited to be here to fight with my spouse or to deal with something that I may have done wrong. No, these people that are coming into our court deserve respect from our bench. Our bench needs to respect the people that are in the court, the police officers that have worked all day, the courthouse clerks that are there doing their job, the attorneys that are representing, the public defenders that are there on a nominal wage just to protect your constitutional rights. These are things that matter. These people matter, and they don't deserve to be taken down by our judges. And that is also something I will never do. I will never disrespect another member or officer of the court, a member of the courtroom, or people that come before me. Again, I understand why we're all here. We all have a vital role to play in the judicial system. And my job as a judge is to simply enforce the rules. And why am I running to be a judge? As I said, my children are my passion. And I think the best way to handle or to ensure they grow up in a safe world is to grow up in a safe community. I've spent the majority of my legal career giving back to those and helping my community. I didn't go to law school to make $1 million or have all of these fancy things. My job at the end of every day is to ensure that the children in our community is safe, our people are safe, you are safe in your houses. And that is why I am running as a judge. I'm here standing up, showing you that one person can make a difference for the betterment of our community. Thank you.
And if you would go ahead and put the mic on the front pew there. And you can have a seat on the front pew as well. He'll take that mic is what I was trying to get. They sanitize in between. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. My name is Beth Stockwell. I am a candidate for Superior Court Judge. I want to first and foremost thank everyone that has made the effort to come here tonight. Thank the Reverend Dr. Pierre Crawford for having us, Pastor for having us all here. This is an opportunity that us as candidates greatly appreciate, the opportunity to get our faces out in front of folks. Thank you, sir. I wasn't sure how to adjust that. Thank you. To get our faces out in front of folks, let people meet us, know what we're about, who we are. So again, thank you to everyone that is here, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. And thanks to the folks on social media that are watching us live that weren't able to make it. Again, as I said, my name is Beth Stockwell. I am running for Superior Court Judge here in Gaston County. To tell you a little bit about myself personally before I get into my professional career, I am from South Georgia. I grew up in a little town called Douglas, Georgia in Crawford County. Grew up in a what I would classify as a middle-class, hard-working family. My mother was a teacher, then school administrator. My father was a farmer. So they taught us just good, hard-working values, and anything that was worth having, we had to work for to get. So I think that is certainly something that they instilled in me that has gotten me to this point in my life and this point in my career. I played basketball, ran track in high school, and was fortunate enough to be able to be awarded an athletic scholarship to come to North Carolina at Campbell University and play Division I basketball all 4 years while I worked and earned my way to a degree in psychology from Campbell University. Certainly a different place, 2 states away from home, but it's a place here in North Carolina that I decided to call home, and I've been here ever since, and I'm greatly thankful for that opportunity as well. When I first left college at Campbell, began a career in social work, and I'll tell you that the law is my second career choice. I started as a social worker at an early age, in my early 20s, worked for Child Protective Services and foster care as a social worker and then supervisor of both of those types of programs. Those opportunities and experiences put me in situations where I was in people's homes investigating allegations of abuse and neglect, and was able to see firsthand the experiences that these families and these children went through, and then the experiences that they had in our court system. And I'll tell you, sitting there in court we had court on Wednesdays, not that that makes any difference, but I would sit there on Wednesdays with my court cases, prepared to testify, prepared to talk about the cases that I had worked, and saw attorneys arguing the law, arguing the cases before the court. And it sparked a passion in me, because I couldn't quite wrap my head around how the law is written, black letter of the law is written, and how folks on opposite sides of that could argue different positions based on what their belief or what their stance was about that law. And it intrigued me. It's what led me to go to law school. And after 10 years of being a social worker in Georgia and here in North Carolina, was able to enroll at North Carolina Central University School of Law, and had an opportunity to go to law school there and finish that degree. When I came out of law school, was able to be a general practitioner for about a year, practiced civil and criminal law there, and handled all types of cases: civil, criminal, domestic, family, probation violations, everything across the board. And then in 2010, I was given an opportunity to come to work at Gaston County District Attorney's Office, and that's where I've been ever since. Mr. Lockbell hired me and gave me the opportunity to start out in his office and grow with my legal career from that point forward. Since that time, I have handled primarily a felony caseload throughout my career of almost 12 years with the District Attorney's Office, prosecuting any kind of felony case, several of those all the way to jury verdict, including drug trafficking cases, sex offenses, as well as homicides are mainly the type of cases that I handle. Thank you, sir. Tell you a little bit about some of the programs that I've been involved in. I have been a founding member of our Recovery Court Drug Court program, which is a diversion program that we have here in Gaston County to try to help folks that are involved in our court system eliminate or keep themselves from having criminal conviction histories or ending up in DAC in our prison system, in the Department of Adult Corrections in our prison systems. It's something that we started working on about 3 years ago and have implemented it in this past year. And we are hopeful that that program will be able to expand to a mental health court as well as a veterans court. I think I'm pretty close on my time, Dr. Crawford, so I want to again thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you, and welcome any questions when we get to that point in the program. Thank you.
While he's coming to the mic, there is another vacant seat. So the way this goes, anyone that wants to go ahead and take a seat is welcome to come on. 3 to 5 minutes.
All that warning about being positive and things like that, I was just sitting there wondering, I was like, is that how they roll here in Gastonia, or they just, you guys just read my social media pages? So I'm going to try to be respectful, try to be as positive as possible today. Okay. I am B.K. McGinnis, your Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate. I almost did not come here today, but I got an email, and I'm going to read the email straight off here. It says, I am new to North Carolina, and I'm researching candidates for various offices, so my votes in the upcoming election will be informed. I'm a registered Democrat. I read about Mr. McGinnis on Ballotpedia.org. I plan to give Mr. McGinnis my vote in the primary, even though the race already appears to be a runaway for Sherry Beasley. I have nothing against Miss Beasley. She appears to have good qualifications. I'm guessing she benefits from name recognition, among other things. However, Mr. McGinnis's campaign messaging in Ballotpedia is the most rational and logically stated I have seen. I learned about Miss Beasley's polling lead only after reading about Mr. McGinnis. It was a big disappointment. Should Miss Beasley win the Senate primary, I would be behind Mr. McGinnis in any future run for elected office, but based on his views, I think he belongs in the U.S. Senate. Now, you would think that email is uplifting, and that is why I'm here today. But that wasn't. That was disheartening. These are the type of emails that candidates like me and these other U.S. Senate candidates here today get when the field is cleared for a favored candidate, and then that candidate sits back and relaxes for 6 months. Okay? That is a disservice to the voters. That's a disservice to the candidates here. And quite frankly, as the top of the ticket, the U.S. Senate needs to bring energy to the Democratic Party and get our voters out. It is a dereliction of duty, and it's disrespectful to all these other hard-working candidates out here, Democratic candidates, who are going to get massacred in this election cycle because we don't have someone leading us. Now, I know I'm going to lose, okay? I know this. But I'm trying to get, I know this. I'm trying to get some energy in this. Because I went, I've been across North Carolina. I'll tell you what, I entered the race late, okay? I've been all across North Carolina, and I go to these things, and I see just a couple of Democrats, and it's most of the county party people, and they're like, yeah, we're trying to get everybody motivated. We're trying to get everybody elected. And I see desperation in their eyes, and it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. We are about to lose our democracy. We are about to lose our 223-year-old democracy, okay? I'm not going to talk about how it's being done because I'm trying to be positive, okay? Okay. Voter suppression, gerrymandering, taking decisions out of electoral hands. It's being done. So we need our leader to be out here today, and so that's why I'm here. I'm here because, hey, she's not here leading you. You want to hear her because guess what? If she's a presumptive candidate, you want to hear her answers. But I'm done talking about her, okay? Hopefully I spoke for the other ones. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I'm going to tell you why you should vote for me, okay? 3 reasons. 1, I have the experience. I've been in politics for 20 years. You may not have seen me on a ballot, but I've been working behind the scenes, okay? Also, I was a financial planner for 13 years, working with hardworking families, trying to get their kids into college and them into retirement, okay? Because of that and my life experience, every issue on my website, I believe in. Those are personal to me, and I'm going to fight for them. Let me take a step back here real quick, too. One of my biggest priorities on my website is racial inequality, or my campaign is racial inequality, and I believe in representation, but I do not believe it needs to happen this way. Number 2 is determination. Guess what? I know I'm going to lose this. I am still here trying to talk to you. I want to earn your vote, okay? We are a true battleground state. We lost, we won the governor, but Trump won here. Lieutenant governor lost, or Democrats lost the lieutenant governor race, the Senate race, and guess what? North Carolina Supreme Court Chief Justice race as well. Last thing is my demeanor. I think you can tell I'm serious, right? I'm a fighter. I don't just sit there. I'm not one of these politicians that says, I'm going to fight for you. I'm fighting. This is me. This is why I'm trying to be respectful and nice, but I cannot be positive because I am not going to sit down and take this. And this is what I'm going to do in Washington for you. If I've got to go into Smokey Joe Manchin's office and grab him by the scruff of his neck and drag him to the Congress floor to get voting rights legislation passed, that's what I'm going to do. Voting rights legislation is the #1 priority for this campaign season for the Senate race and for all of the candidates down ballot. I'm B.K. McGinnis, your Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Gus Anthony. I'm a candidate for District Court Judge. I am the fortunate one that you'll be hearing from tonight, and that I do not have an opponent on this election cycle. So I certainly tip my hat to everybody else up here speaking, fighting for their jobs, and I'm certainly grateful that I don't have to. But along those lines, I still like to take these opportunities to come out and meet the people I'm going to be working for. Because that's what you are as a judge. You're a public servant. You work for the people of Gaston County. That's what I'm going to be doing. I've been an attorney for over 26 years, helping people as best I can. I've been in every courtroom, handled every kind of case a district court judge will hear, so I feel like I've got the experience to do the job, and I hope that experience will serve me well when I'm up there working for y'all. Again, I'd like to thank everybody, Reverend Floyd, good to see you again, Reverend Crawford, good. Thank y'all all for putting this on tonight and giving the candidates that you need to meet, that you have to decide who to vote for, an opportunity to speak to you and answer questions for you. Just a few more quick sound bites about me. I won't take up a lot of your time, given that I don't have an opponent, but I am from Gastonia. I was born and raised here, with the exception of the 4 years I was in the Navy and 3 years I was in law school. I've lived in Gaston County my entire life. I know Gaston County. I know the people of Gaston County. My family and friends are here, and that's helped me through my career. And hopefully it will help me in my time on the bench. Again, thank you for having me tonight. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. If you have any other questions about me, I will be glad to speak to you at your leisure. But I would like to give the rest of my time back to the candidates that are in contested elections. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As we prepare for the next ones to come forth, we just want to thank everybody for the 3 to 5 minutes. And you're doing a wonderful job. Keep up the good work. For those that just came in, as a seat, if you are a candidate and you're running for a position, as a seat is empty up here, we ask that you go ahead and take a seat, as well as stay close up front, so that when the the question and answers go forth, you'll be close to where you can get to a mic. Thank you so much.
Good evening. Excellent. Good evening. I am Dr. Tobias LaGrone, and giving honor to Dr. Crawford, to our progressive president of Gaston County. It is good to be here. I'm Dr. Tobias LaGrone, and I'm a candidate for the United States Senate. I made my announcement April 12, 2021. And as BK said, we have not seen the presumptuous nominee on the campaign trail. I am Dr. Tobias LaGrone, and I'm requesting your support as I seek to serve the state of North Carolina as your next United States Senator. I'm a clinical psychotherapist, a husband of 35 years, a father, a son, and a son of the South, raised on a farm in Mississippi. My chicken did not come from Bojangles, but came from the chicken yard. My eggs did not come from Harris, Teeter, or Lowe's, but came from the hen house. Today, we stand at the crossroad of decision, whether to stay on the path of selfish greed that places profit above people and the economy above the well-being of family, or do we choose to take a new path? We know where the well-worn path of yesteryear would take us, for the old paths of division and strife is illumined with the grayish tint of red blood from a nation divided during the rebel days of a fractured union. Most recently, we have seen the poor sons of Confederate ghosts storm America's capital, demanding that white power trump the democratic will of the American people. We are scared. We look to our right and left, trying to find a balanced center to rest on. All of us are unsure of our place in this new world, a new world of artificial intelligence, quantum science, supercomputers, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, DoorDash, Instacart, Zoom conferencing, and self-driving cars. We are literally living in the George Jetson world, a world of unlimited possibilities for economic growth and social stability for all. Yet, what history has repeatedly taught us is that we cannot maintain a George Jetson world with leaders who have a Fred Flintstone mentality. Jeff Bezos of Amazon, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, Elon Musk of Tesla. They brag that they built it themselves. They are billionaires, and they pay very little taxes to invest back into the social construct of the American dream. My statement to Jeff Bezos, to Elon Musk: build your own roads, build your own internet, build your own bridges, and see how far your wealth can go. You did not build America. My mothers and fathers who worked in the factories, who worked in the tobacco fields, the cotton fields, who built furniture in these factories, wearing out their knees and wearing out their hips. Now they're in their 70s, debilitated with back surgery, knee surgery, and hip surgeries. So stop saying you built it yourself. We built the infrastructure for Amazon. We built the infrastructure for Elon Musk. Why Dr. LaGrone? I believe that every person is born on purpose, for purpose, and with purpose. A major part of my God-designed purpose for over 30 years has been that of a servant leader. I am a proud pro-life, whole-life Democrat, meaning that I believe that every life is born on purpose, for purpose, and with purpose, and abortion should only be used in the extreme case of a mother's life being saved or in the case of incest or rape. The Democratic Party will not win the rural community and will lose the conservative African-American vote. And we keep going down this road saying that abortion is a right, abortion is a medical decision, and it is murder if it is not used to save the life of a mother or to help heal a young lady who's been raped or violated by incest. There's a new world awaiting us, and we must stand strong. I believe it was Miles Monroe that said. Miles Monroe said, in the world, the late Miles Monroe said, in the world, we come to a place where we are supposed to use things and love people. But greed has moved us to a place where we love things and we use people. I come today as the candidate that can win conservative Democrats, that can pull left-leaning Republicans who have gone to the unaffiliated side because they do not want to award Ted, Bud, and Trump for their bad behavior. I stand as a son of the church, and I am proud to be here today. I conclude in this. It was Halifax County Judge Walter Clark who selected these God-inspired words with the philosophy of Cicero when he offered this for our official state motto for North Carolina. Esse quam videre, to be rather than to seem. I come today giving us the opportunity to be. Democratic Party don't just seem open-minded, just don't seem to be a party for all. But let us move now to be bold in our vision, to be courageous in our faith, kind to one another, be caring in our community, be tempered in our conversations, be tolerant with our neighbors, be intelligent in our planning, be innovative in our job creations, and most of all, let us be all for progress, with progress for all. You can find me at ncnewday.com, Dr. Tobias LaGrone, ncnewday.com, and I am in it to win it. Thank you.
All right. How you folks doing? Y'all doing good? Y'all doing good? All right, I'm glad y'all doing good. All right. Now, my name is Eric Hughes. I'm probably one of the youngest people to ever run this position. This is not my first time running for a political position. Okay? I do it because I should. That's why I do it. Am I picture perfect? I'm not. Far from it. Don't want to be. But I'm a perfect American. That's what I am. And I genuinely try to do what's right. All in all, I have a lot of values that are valued on the Republican standpoint as well as the Democratic standpoint. Okay, I am and I always have been a Democrat, but I don't think it's about party affiliation. I think it's more so about just doing what's right. Okay, so when it comes down to pro-life, I'm definitely pro-life. Not with killing babies. It's not cool. Okay, it's nothing cool about killing children. Okay, it's nothing cool about killing other people, older, younger. It's nothing cool about hurting people. I'm pro-life. Okay. Okay, and when it comes down to pro-guns, I am pro-guns. That's an original American privilege. Okay, and I value it, and as all Americans should value it. I don't see why you wouldn't value that. Okay, so I'm pro-life, I'm pro-guns. I am pro-marijuana. We're going to be progressive. We're not going to stay the same way we were in 1900. If I'm for alcohol, how can I not be for marijuana? People get drunk all the time. They go to these bars, they get drunk, they drive down the highways and kill families. If that's okay, then why isn't marijuana okay? Okay, I've never heard of anybody smoking some marijuana and then driving down the highway and killing a family. Okay, so just logically thinking, okay, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that alcohol is worse for you than marijuana. Okay, you can literally drink too much alcohol and kill yourself, literally. And you can't smoke too much marijuana, as far as from my knowledge. Okay, and people don't kill people when they smoke marijuana. No one kills anyone. No one hurts anyone. Alcohol literally makes people more aggressive. Okay, so logically, let's just be smart. Let's be logical. Okay, so if alcohol is legal, how can marijuana be illegal? Okay, and just logically speaking, it just only makes sense to legalize marijuana. If it did become legalized, I don't plan to partake in it. If you do, that's your right. Do your thing. But but also the number one reason why I would love to see marijuana legalized from a political standpoint is the tax revenue that the state can gain from the taxation of marijuana. Okay, it can be very beneficial in regards to everything. Okay, we can take that funding and do all kind of great things for the state. Okay, and that's what I really like about it. So I am pro legalization and decriminalization of marijuana offenses. So for you judges, yeah, we can let all them people in there for non-violent marijuana charges. Just let them come home and get it off their backgrounds. Okay, they just need to come and sign some paperwork, but let them get it off their backgrounds. They should do that. Okay, that's a good thing. And there's just there's no reason for holding people down for something that we know better, logically speaking. We still should use our intelligence to some degree. I feel like for some people that was out the window a long time ago. Okay, but all in all, as Americans and as people, we are together, whether we want to be or not. Doesn't matter what you want. We together. And so, and that's a great thing. And we help each other all the time. All the time. We help each other. And we depend on each other one way or another. Directly or indirectly. We depend on each other and we help each other all the time. And we will continue to do so. And anybody who's against us helping each other and being for each other, they are against America. They are no good. Okay. And all in all, as your representative for District 109 of North Carolina, I would genuinely just try to be a good person. I don't know what issues may arise while I'm in office, but I can tell you that I'm genuinely going to try to make the right decision. And and I'm not self-centered. I don't have biased opinions. I genuinely feel like doing what's best for everyone. Okay. And usually when you help everyone, you help a lot of people. You're going to help a lot of people when you're genuinely trying to help everyone. Okay. So and that's ultimately the goal. And any way that I can help, whether it's through education matters or just any other matters, I'm all for it. And but do you guys have? We'll talk about that later when y'all get to ask questions. Y'all think about your questions because I want to know what you guys, as the people, what y'all want. That's the most important thing, so we can talk about that. Okay. All right.
Hold mine. I think I'll do better if I just hold it. Good evening. My name is Roxanne Rankin. I am the clerk of Superior Court here in Gaston County. I am a Gaston County lifelong resident. I was born and raised in a little town you may have heard of, McAdenville, Christmas town. I'm sure everyone's been to see the Christmas lights. I was raised in the house that my dad was raised in, and I come from a fairly large, a small immediate family, but a very large family. My mother was from Stanley, was raised on a farm. My father, of course, was raised in McAdenville and retired from Far Yarns after 48 years. I began working in the clerk's office in 1984. I was 18 years old. That's all I've ever known is the clerk's office in the judicial system. When I had decided to put college on hold for about a year, I got this job, and fell in love with it. Learned how the court system was working. And I loved learning about that. I eventually worked in the courtrooms, worked with a lot of judges, a lot of attorneys, and just like I said, just fell in love with all of it. I've been there for 38 years. When my predecessor, Larry Brown, decided to retire in 2020, the Honorable Jesse B. Caldwell III appointed and swore me in to fill out the remainder of Mr. Brown's term. I am running for election. I can't say re-election because I've never been elected, but I am asking for your support. The clerk's office is the keeper of the record. I have very limited power making decisions, but what we do is vital to the court system. The court system cannot run without us. Ask any attorney, ask any judge. We keep every record, be it criminal, civil, adoptions, probate, anything that goes on in the court system. Our office is responsible for those files. We also provide the courtroom clerks in that courtroom. Now, they're not the person that does this. Everybody thinks that's us. That's not us. Those are the court reporters. We're the person sitting beside the judge's bench, handling all the cases, handing them up, doing what we need to do, keeping the minutes, taking down orders, doing everything that has to be done. These records belong to the citizens of Gaston County, and I think it's important that you have someone in there with some experience. And certainly after 38 years, I have the experience. Our system is about to go paperless in about the next year and a half. I was there when we went from typewriters to computers. It's imperative that you have someone in there with experience that understands the system, because if you don't understand the system, and I'm not talking about the IT system, I'm talking about the court system in general, it makes it very hard to maintain those records if you don't know where you've been, because you need to know that to know where you're going. And I am proud to say that we have a great staff. We have hardworking men and women in our office, and we take a lot of pride in what we do. And I believe in integrity. I believe in transparency. And I'm just asking at this time that you guys do some research about me. If you know attorneys, if you know police officers, probation officers, ask them how vital the clerk's office is, and ask them about me. Please ask them about me. Go to my website, keep Roxanne Rankin Clerk of Court. Find out about me. You can contact me at any time. Call the courthouse, ask for me. They all know who I am. I've been there again forever. And I would welcome anytime you have a problem, anytime something's going on, please reach out to me. I want to thank, it's good to see Reverend Floyd again. I appreciate you, Reverend Crawford, for having us here tonight. And I look forward to any questions from everyone after a while. Thank you.
As our next presenter come, we want to welcome those that have just come in. Feel free, as the seats are emptied, if you are here running for office, you can come on up and a mic will be provided for you. And they are hot, so all you got to do is pick them up, and when you finish, that young man back there will come and get it for you. All right, let's give our attention to the next.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I just want to say thank you all for coming out today. I want to recognize Reverend Floyd for having this great event tonight, and also the pastor of this house, Dr. Crawford, as well as my Alpha brothers that are in the audience. It's great to see you all today. And by the way, McAdenville, where did she go? I guess she must have walked out. Very special to my heart. I proposed to my wife in McAdenville in 2013 by the Christmas tree. I think a lot of proposals happened there. So my name is Douglas Wilson, Douglas, Georgia. I am representing Jeff Jackson's campaign for Congress. He could not make it here today. He had a previous engagement. A little bit about myself. I am from New York, if you couldn't tell by the way I sound, by way of South Carolina, Francis Marion University. I went to the University of South Carolina, Columbia, so I know where Florence is, and my parents live in Camden, South Carolina, so I know exactly where you went to school at. So, you know, why am I supporting Jeff Jackson? There's a lot of things I could say about Jeff, and I'm just going to give a personal story. I met Jeff back in 2011, 2012. I was working for the Democratic Party, and I met this young man, a little bit younger than me, who was interested in running for office. And one thing that I admired about him, and I always admired this about men and women that serve in our armed forces, that he was and still is in our armed forces. That's very special to me. I wanted to go into the armed forces, but I could not because I was born with a slight hearing loss. So that also impressed me about him. Secondly, I didn't realize that at that time he had started his career as an attorney at the district attorney's office right here in Gaston County. And so I thought that was, you know, very special for someone who went to UNC Chapel Hill and, you know, went and served in the United States Reserves, and then also decides to become an assistant district attorney right here in Gaston County. But one thing that really impressed me about him is at such a young age, just willing to step up and to serve in our state Senate. And that's why I applaud him and applaud all the candidates here tonight. It is very hard to do this job, to come up here and to speak in front of people, ask people for money that don't even know you, and also spend a long time away from your family. One of the issues that Jeff really cares about that's really dear to my heart is healthcare. As I speak to you tonight, my father lies in a hospital bed in Camden, South Carolina, suffering from prostate cancer. Myself, I am a business owner, and luckily for the Affordable Care Act, I'm able to provide health care for myself and my family. If Jeff is elected to Congress, this is one of the main issues he's going to fight for, is health care and making sure that we have affordable health care and expanding on the Affordable Care Act. He's also going to make sure that we address the rising prices that we see happening now. I know there's a lot of debate to go around on how those prices are where they are right now, but he will address that by working not with just our party, but also folks on the other side. I will ask you, and humbly ask you, that if you can vote for Jeff Jackson for Congress, District 14, coming up, early vote April 28th, as well as Election Day, May 17th. His website is jeffjacksonnc.com. Again, I am a member of the campaign. As you can see, I'm not a candidate, do not look like Jeff Jackson, but I am here representing his campaign. And by the way, I gave a shout out to McAdenville. I proposed to my wife there in 2013, so very special to my heart. Thank you very much again for this wonderful occasion. This is very important. I cannot tell you, in the climate that we currently live in, with politics being so divided, the fact that we have members of both parties here having a civil conversation, I would say, about the issues that affect all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And as our next candidate approaches the podium, we do want to let you know that there is a lot of campaign information up here in case you want to go ahead and receive some. Also, we want you to know that if you haven't placed yours up here, feel free to go ahead and do so.
Hello, my name is James L. Carr Jr., U.S. Senate candidate. I'm up here because my son asked me to run. So he worked on a congressional campaign back in 2020, and from that experience, when Richard Byrd decided to retire, he asked me if I would run for the seat. Now, he's listened to me complain. He's 23, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but he's 23, I believe, and he's heard me talk about politics his entire life. When back in 2008 was the first time I worked on a political campaign, we worked on the Barack Obama campaign. And so he would go out, we would knock on doors. So he's been actively involved in politics. And so he would listen to me talk and get my opinion about different things. So when he asked me, I probably thought about it for maybe 10 seconds and said, sure, I'll do it. And then as time went on, we started thinking about, okay, what difference can I make? What would be my platform? And what I realized is that the biggest issue that America faces is that we are disjointed. But we're destroying it because we're trying to unify around the wrong things. And so we can talk about, pro-life, pro-choice, gay rights, non-gay rights, taxes, whatever the issue. But our system, we're not really broken. It's functioning as it should function. If we can't come to an agreement, then our system doesn't work. This is not a totalitarian regime, where someone can just come in and just say, this is what we're going to do. So then thought about, well, what can we unify around? But the one thing that we have in common is we all desire personal liberty. And so to me, when I think about what personal liberty means, it means that we're free to do what we want to do within the confines of our system. And so, and thinking about kind of how my own personal journey began, it really begins in Lexington, North Carolina, where I was adopted. And so my parents were married in 1968. I was born in 1967. They didn't adopt me until I was 5. And so so my mom was 52 and my dad was 47. They had, my mom was born in 1920. She lost she remembered her dad losing their house during the Great Depression. She remembered her mom dying when she was 10. Her mom died from the same condition. My mom suffered from that same condition, which is why she couldn't have kids. She also had other challenges. My dad served in the Air Force when they were still part of the Army and while it was still segregated. And so kind of looking at their background, to me it was kind of funny, how did I end up being adopted by this couple? And I just had such a great experience with them. It wasn't obviously the love that they gave me, but it was also just the contentment with life. The fact that they never had any bitterness. They always had fight and drive. They always believed that America was going to be a better day and that they had a right to live a good life. Even with all the challenges, they believed they had a right to live a good life. And they instilled that in me. And I remember when it instilled it in me so well that my dad would tell me all these stories about the Air Force. I thought, wow, I'd like to go in the Air Force. Well, they were upset with me when I made that decision because they wanted me to go to college. They wanted me to do something they couldn't do. And so when I told them, no, I want to go in the Air Force, they were upset at first. And they were really happy when I paid my own way through later with the GI Bill. But during that time, although they were upset, I was only 17, so they had to co-sign for me to join. I joined. I had a great experience in the Air Force. I got out, went to college, got my degree in accounting, worked in corporate accounting for a few years. Then I pursued my real passion, which was IT. And so now I'm currently an IT consultant. And sort of what that whole journey for me represents is the difference between our political system and the private sector. And that is, you have to get things done. You have to solve problems. And so if you go so as an elected official, if you go in and you promise you're going to do something and you don't have a plan behind it to back it up and you can't get others to join on board with you, it doesn't matter what you're proposing because it's going to fail. And that's what I can uniquely bring to the table, is that I really do understand how to work with different individuals when you have to get a solution done. And probably the best experience I've had is working phone support, of all things. And so working in phone support, you learn how to listen to someone tell you what their problems are, not what you think your problems are. What is your problem? What is a solution that you are comfortable with? And so when I think about being in politics, that's what I think about, is what is my solution to what I think ails America? There's going to be 4 things. Well, really the core of it is empowering every individual to pursue their own dreams, goals, and aspirations. And to do that, the first thing would be to protect privacy rights. The second thing would be to invest in infrastructure. The third thing would be to modernize the educational system. And the fourth thing would be to decouple benefits from jobs. Those are things that, to me, will empower individuals to pursue their own dreams, goals, and aspirations. And I think that's something as a country we can unify around and get beyond this function that we're currently facing. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Crawford, thank you very much. Reverend Floyd, thanks for hosting the event. I really appreciate for having me here. My name is Ram Mamadov, R-A-M Mamadov. I'm running for newly drawn District 14, Congressional District 14 in Mecklenburg and Gaston County. The struggle is real. I knew that 20 years ago when I came here to the United States at the age of 20 by myself. I could barely speak English. I went through the adversities that so many of you are familiar with. Racism and discrimination. I lived first 6 years without the health care. I experienced homelessness. I went without education. But along with the issues, the challenges, I've seen the blessings of America. I graduated from Michigan State University with a degree in political science and international relations. I interned for Senator Carl Levin. He was a great senator for almost 30 years from Michigan. He was a very progressive senator from Michigan. I made a career in IT. For over 15 years, I've been working as a quality assurance professional, fixing nothing but issues. Now, we hear politicians, career politicians, local or federal level, coming and bragging about the bills that they've passed or the issues they work on. As a voter, I always say that don't brag to me about your actions. Show me the results. The results that are affecting every single person in a positive way, affecting every single person. Show me the bills that you passed that are not for lobbyists or special interests, but for everyday, hard-working people. Because if we look at the statistics in North Carolina itself, and I'll give you the statistics for North Carolina, and then we'll go to the federal level. In North Carolina itself, the population of North Carolina is 10.49 million people. 58% of our population does not have college degree. That's more than half. 58% has no college degree. North Carolina, we are 30 in the nation for healthcare. We're number 26 in the nation for racial equality in education. Black versus white in a school, in high school, in a college. For public safety, we're number 31. I mean, the statistics, mind-boggling. And this is just on the state level. On a federal level, we keep sending politicians on their campaign promises. We're electing politicians on their campaign promises to fix our health care, to provide a home, to fix the homelessness, to fix the issue with immigration, to raise the minimum wage. Why hasn't that been done? That's a legitimate question. I'm asking as a voter. Why hasn't that been done? You know, I had a conversation with one of the reverends. He is very politically active. And I said, Reverend, we have on the both sides. Either Republicans dominate or Democrats dominate. And both of them running on the same pretty much issues. Different way, different solution, but on the same issues. Healthcare, immigration. Why are we still talking about these issues? Why is it not being done? And he gave me an answer. He said, Ram, I'll give you two answers. Why? For you, it's a matter of life, because your life is at stake. For them, it is political game, because they still need, if they fix those issues, guess what? They won't have any issues to run on. So they're going to have to keep those issues alive and keep feeding us with all this garbage, excuse me. With all this garbage, right? Giving us lousy excuses. That's number one reason. Reason number two, he said, Ram, they don't have a personal experience. Many of them don't have personal experience with the issues they're running on. And personal experience matters. Now, why am I here today? Why am I running for all those issues? Every single issue on my platform is personal to me. I've personally experienced that. And what I've learned, representatives, local or on federal level, they represent their constituents best when they have a direct relations, direct experience with every single issues, with every single challenge their constituents are facing today. My platform is based on a very simple approach: to make everything affordable and accessible. Healthcare, affordable and accessible. Education, affordable and accessible. Housing, affordable and accessible. Look, for government, it should be in the best interest to keep me alive, to keep me healthy, to keep me educated, to keep me employed. Why? If I have all that, I'm paying taxes. I'm paying taxes to the government. If I have an education, good education, I have a good job. If I have a good job, I have a high salary. If I have high salary, I'm paying taxes back. Is it that hard to understand? I don't understand why is it so hard? If I'm sick, if I'm hungry, if I'm uneducated, I'm not good for the government. I am not good for the society. So why not help me to be a productive member of the society? So that's what I'm running for, to make sure that opportunities, all the opportunities that I asked for as an immigrant, still alive for us, for our children, for our grandchildren. I'm running on the personal experience. Every single issue, it is a personal to me. My name is Ram Mamadou. Thank you very much.
As our next candidate gets ready to approach the podium, and we're working our way from left to right or left all the way over to the end, so whoever is next, feel free to approach. We want you to know once again that the campaign information is right up here, and if you haven't had a chance to put your campaign information up here, we ask that you would. For those candidates that have just walked in, feel free to come up and take a seat on the front. Right up front, you'll be able to get a mic, and you'll be able to go ahead and speak in just a few minutes. Jesse.
Thank you, Dr. Crawford, or Floyd, Progressive Coalition, and Center Baptist Church for hosting this forum. Appreciate the opportunity for all the candidates to come and address the voters. It's not a small thing, and it should be recognized and appreciated. To all the candidates, hats off. This is not easy to get up and stand and speak and talk about yourself. Well, for most people, it's not something that comes naturally. And I have many friends that are in similar positions, running for office. So now being on this side of it, new sense of admiration and respect for anybody who has the guts to lace up the gloves and climb into the ring, because at the end of the day, that is kind of what this is. Now, I'm not going to quote Cicero, and I didn't play D1 basketball, and I can't advocate for a position one way or the other as it relates to marijuana. I am one of your Superior Court judges, and as such, my policy platform is the United States Constitution, the rule of law, the safety of our community, and the fair treatment of anybody who comes into any of my civil or criminal courtrooms. I think that's what we would want. For a position that expressly and explicitly requires you to be apolitical and impartial, it would be inappropriate for me to come up here and say, give some partisan screed one way or the other. Because at the end of the day, if you took a poll of everybody in Gaston County, the overwhelming majority would agree with exactly what I'm telling you right now, and I'm sure that most of you agree with that as well. I'm not running for a legislative or executive position. I'm not running for state, senate, or U.S. Congress, or your local school board. My policy platform, I just gave it to you. To follow the law as it's written, not as I might like it to be, not to legislate from the bench, but to make sure that anybody who comes into court has the opportunity to be heard. And that's what this position requires, and that's what I bring to this position every day. I'm a Gaston County native. I grew up in Gastonia. Went to church here, went to school here, had my first kiss here, learned to drive here. My grandparents are buried just a few miles that way. You don't get any more Gaston County than me. As far as experience goes, I spent 10 years in the Gaston County Public Defender's Office. As such, I was in court every single day, usually multiple courtrooms, district court, juvenile court, superior court, every single day. You cannot get that experience anywhere else. I have the courtroom experience, I have the judicial temperament, and I have the genuine desire to serve Gaston County. Just to give you an example, when I passed the bar, I made the conscious decision to come back to Gaston County. I've dedicated the entirety of my legal career to public service in Gaston County. I think it's important to give back to the place that you love, the place that you call home. That's why I'm raising my family here. I was fortunate enough to have a son after I had for the most part, written the possibility of fatherhood off. But God blessed me and smacked me in the face with something that I did not expect, and it was the best thing for me. It changed my perspective on just about everything. And it's not easy. Long nights and short years. That's what somebody told me to get ready for it, and truer words have never been spoken. But that's why I'm doing this. One of the main reasons I'm doing this is so that I can leave a better Gaston County, better North Carolina, and a better United States of America for my son. Make sure that he has all the opportunities that I was given, and then some. We have to be good stewards of our community. We have to treat each other with respect. And most importantly, I think it's been said a couple of times, we are in a bad way. And the hyper division, not just on the local level or the state or the national level, I don't think it's good for anybody. It's the hyper partisanship has devolved into some sort of tribalist blood sport. And this is one position that should not be swayed by any of that. I wear a black robe. I do not wear a red or a blue uniform. That's the way it's supposed to be. And I will continue to serve Gaston County in any way that I can. I ask for your vote. I ask for your consideration. I ask for your support. And I thank you all for being here tonight.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Floyd, Dr. Crawford, for allowing us to be here in your congregation, be here in your beautiful sanctuary. It's an honor and privilege to be here. I'm Ronnie Worley. I'm a common sense, practical conservative running for the North Carolina House, District 109. I'll commend Eric, Mr. Hughes over here. He's the only one of my opponents that valued this time enough to show up. So I commend you, Mr. Hughes, and I look forward to getting to know you and chatting with you some later, but I thank you for that. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. We're talking about our Gaston County cred, I guess, a little bit. I am also a Gaston County native. I grew up down the road in Cramerton, where I still reside, although I left for not quite 20 years that I was gone. I joined the Highway Patrol in 1988, and I served across the state. I served in Albemarle and Raleigh, and then made my way back to Charlotte in Gaston County, where I retired in 2016 from the Highway Patrol. I want you to also know that I'm uniquely qualified for the position that I'm running for. I came back to Cramerton, my hometown, and wanted to get involved in the community, serving my community. I was a trooper, and I got invited to run for city council, which I did, and I was elected, and that was a privilege to serve my hometown as a city council member, and then I had an opportunity to run for mayor of Cramerton, served 2 terms as mayor of Cramerton, and I kind of term limited myself at that point. I said, that's enough. Let's let someone else, fresh eyes, fresh ideas, come in there to that position, and I had retired from the Highway Patrol after serving 2 terms as mayor, and the opportunity arose for me to run for the county commission. In 2016, I was elected to my first term as a county commissioner and representing the South Point Township, and then in 2020 I was reelected. So I know how to get things done. I've worked with our legislators. I've been to Raleigh. I've been to Washington. I've been in their offices. They know who I am. So when I get there, I will know those players there in Raleigh. Every of our legislators, we meet with them regularly, but more importantly, what they do in Raleigh impacts us here locally. And you have to understand that impact, what it does to municipalities, what it does to counties when the state puts those mandates on us locally here. So I know that from experience. For the most part, I'm going to work on 4 things. I'm going to be narrow focused in Raleigh if I go. Transportation, as you know, is an issue. Our infrastructure has not kept up with the growth in Gaston County. And surely being here on New Hope Road, just trying to get out of this church parking lot on a Sunday morning or up here at City Church, I see the challenges that you face here. But that's all over the county. It's on I-85, it's on New Hope Road, it's on South Point, it's on Franklin. These challenges, we need infrastructure. We need to address transportation. We need it immediately. The Catawba Crossing is one project that you may have heard of. It is another bridge from Gaston into Mecklenburg County that will connect with 485 near NC 160. That should be a priority. Right now, it's slated to be finished in 2038. I think that's too late. We need to fast track that road. We need to get it built. We also need to widen I-85. That needs to be a priority. So many of our infrastructure needs are already approved, but they're not funded because the state does not have the funding currently. And we need to rethink that formula for building roads. The gas tax is not cutting it. Cars are more fuel efficient. Some of you may drive electric cars that you're not paying the gas tax. You may be paying some fees, but we need to restructure how we build roads. One way York County does it is called Pennies for Progress, that they allow the local jurisdiction to put a referendum on the ballot to build roads. We could do that in North Carolina. Our legislature says, well, we don't do things that way in North Carolina. We need to take the best ideas from other places and put them to work for us in Gaston County and the rest of North Carolina. So Pennies for Progress works. If you travel to York County, they identify a road project, they put that project to the voters, and if the voters approve that quarter-cent sales tax, everybody that buys groceries or goods and other merchandise in York County contributes a little bit to those road projects. Same way we're doing with our schools here in Gaston County with the referendum. I'll focus on education and school choice for parents. I believe we ought to send our children to school for an education and not an indoctrination. So that would be a priority, but also law and order. I am a law enforcement officer at heart, so I will work to restore our law enforcement to where it should be properly funded, and to be held accountable as well. But I ask for your vote May 17th. I realize a good number of people are independent voters, and I am a Republican. I didn't say that up front. I'm not ashamed of my Republican values, but I know independent voters can help me get elected in May. And as I said, I'm a common sense, practical conservative. I believe in getting things done. So I thank you for your time tonight. Look forward to hearing your questions. Thank you.
Are there any more candidates that care to come and to address us on tonight before we go into the Q&A? Any candidates that are here that want to go ahead and come forth? We just want to give you opportunity. All right, for whatever that you're running for. All right, so we want to go ahead at this time. Please join with me in giving all of those that came forth on the day a good hand. Good round of applause. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be here to run. Now, as we get ready for the Q&A session now, we do want you to take the time to, when you approach the mic, you got about a good 30 to 60 seconds to raise a question. Not to make a political statement, not to run, not to try to get your name penciled in on the ballot. Somebody say amen. Amen. And we want you to go ahead and ask any question you want of any other candidates that have run or that are running. So we want you to take the time to go ahead and do that. You have a mic here, the mic there. If it's up too high, just pull it straight out, and you can go ahead and ask your question, and you can come to either side that you want to go ahead and ask your questions. Is that all right? And then if you are not exactly sure, you can ask anybody to answer the question, or you can. We had 11 people that approached the mic on tonight. And so we had those that are coming for district court, those that are coming for superior court, U.S. Senate, for judges, as well as U.S. Senate once again, U.S. House of Representatives, Superior Court once again, and Jeff Jackson was running for Congress, and then you had Carr running for U.S. Senate, and then you had Rahm running for U.S. House of Representatives, and then you have Superior Court. So If you have anybody that wants to raise a question, feel free. Don't get me up here to start asking. I'll ask some questions, but I want to give you opportunity first. Just take a mic. You can come take a mic. And the reason we ask you to take a mic is because we have those that are listening on and watching on Facebook and also YouTube. And it'd probably be much easier for you just to pull the mic straight out.
So as a Democratic voter who doesn't always vote along the party lines, I find it interesting that some of the candidates use the term law and order. So how would how would a because generally that's considered a whistleblower word for most African Americans and not something that I like to hear. So how would you convince me that that would be a good thing and not particularly using that term, law and order? Anyone who used that as part of their speech. That they used.
I'll take. Is this on? No. Okay. There it was. It's working now. Okay. Again, Ashley Hyman. I was, I believe, the first person to use the term law and order this evening. I am a Republican candidate, in case you couldn't tell. But and again, running for district court judge. But I did not thank Dr. Reverend Crawford and Mr. President for having us here this evening. So I apologize and thank you very much. And for all of you that attended, and especially for your question. I think law and order, while it might come off as a bit of a Republican soundbite, is something that can be broken down simply as a judge. What is the law? The law is don't speed over 45 miles an hour. What is the order? You sped, therefore, there is a consequence. But again, these consequences need to be in perspective. And again, there are laws there written for a reason. And my job as a judge, again, is not to write the law. It is simply to enforce the law as it's written. I also believe in the Constitution, our federal and North Carolina Constitution. That is what I follow. I will follow the laws as they're written. And again, the order is ensuring that they are executed as they're supposed to be.
I was raised as a Bible-believing young man, and I believe in law and order. But law and order is a construct that, whereas I believe if you raise up a child the way he or she should go, when they're older, they would not depart. So we need a system in place where children learn how to act. That's what I want to talk about. We as Democrats must take this language back from the Republicans because we believe in law and order. One of the biggest mistakes the Democrats made was saying defund the police. Hear me clearly. The term defund the police delivered the state legislature back to the Republicans again.
Yes, we did.
I don't believe in defund the police. I say fund the police, but watch this. Also fund paid family leave. So when parents have children, they can be at home to nurture those children in the first months, where we know, according to epigenetic science, that those first months is when the wiring of the brain is taking place, and those children need to be with their parents for serve and return, and that way they avoid what we call adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. When parents are unduly prosecuted by the justice system, a parent goes to jail, underemployed, then we know that causes adverse childhood experiences. So what I'm saying is this: we as Democrats believe in law and order. I'm 53 years old, but when I visit my dad on the farm, I have to be at the house by midnight. My dad's house, my dad rules. And what we see in society now, we need to return to the good old-fashioned way of respect, of decency, of honor. And as Democrats, we need to, if we take that language back, we'll see a shift in this nation, and we can begin to win some of these positions.
Okay, my name is James Carr. So I'm gonna come at this from a different perspective. I don't believe that, even with the best of intentions, that law is blind, that that a judge can be blind to reality. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but I think everybody comes through life with a bias. If I were to go into the court system today, I'm married, 54, I've been married for 27 years, I have 3 kids. There's no way I'm going to be treated the same as if I were that 18-year-old James Carr going into that same courtroom. And so for me, it's, you know, even if you look at what's going on with the Supreme Court today, clearly Republicans packed the court to get a decision that they wanted when it comes to different social issues or whatever, but they clearly worked the court system to pack it to get a decision that they wanted. If you look at North Carolina, if you look at what happened in the gerrymandering case, that case would have been decided differently had one seat flipped. It would have been decided different because the Republicans would have been in control. So it's great to say that justice is colorblind, but it just simply isn't. Now, my solution to that would be to say there's a system called the Uniform Crime Reporting Database, which is maintained by the federal government. And it's a database system where local police departments have the flexibility of reporting crimes that occur in their areas. I think that should be something that's mandatory. And it should be mandatory that all police shootings, all felonies, all misdemeanors are reported to this system. It should also be mandatory for judges, for decisions that are made by judges in courtrooms to be part of this database as well. This will allow local communities to look into the behavior of their local police, their local judges, to make a determination as to whether or not they truly are being colorblind or being fair. And so to me, that's, you know, it's great to say we're colorblind, but I'm a big believer that we have to have statistics that back that up. And if we not forcefully, but if we make it mandatory that all behavior by judges and police are reported into a database, then we can look at inequities, we can look at situations where police need maybe additional training. We can take police officers who are clearly having issues, take them off the force, maybe retraining, but we can make the system actually fair with information. So thank you.
Now, I didn't
before you begin to speak, keep in mind you got a camera and you have to use the mic and also.
Okay, we got a camera. Hey there, camera. Okay, awesome. Okay, so law and order. I'm a Democrat, and I don't know who got anybody thinking that law and order only applies to Republicans. It's not true. This is one country, and we all follow the same laws and order. Okay, so I don't know why anybody would think that. Okay, now the saying that defund the police, that was kind of a Democratic thing. I'm not really with that, but I can't say I'm against it. I'm kind of on the fence, okay? Because there is a such thing as over policing, okay? But I'm not for taking money away from police departments, okay? Honestly, I think the police officers as a whole do a good job. I genuinely and personally think they do. I really do, wholeheartedly. Now, do we have some bad apples? Of course, they're people. Okay, we have bad people. Okay, so that's important to remember. But all in all, in regards to, she gave a real good explanation of law and order, and I love what my man said about having a database for complaints and things of that nature, so we can pinpoint the bad apples and get them out of the bucket. Okay. Because, you know, we don't want them contaminating other apples. We want our apples all nice and red and perfect, or whatever color. We want them nice and delicious for us. All right. So ideally, law and order is very important to us as Democrats, and I'm sure it's important to you. And me as a Black American, it's important to me as well. Okay. And honestly, I don't feel. I mean, we have bad apples. Okay, we do have some bad apples. Okay. But that doesn't represent the entire law enforcement agency. You know, that doesn't represent us. That doesn't represent us, okay? Bad apples don't represent. They represent themselves, okay? Because we also have good police officers and good judges. And I think education needs to be on the forefront in regards to the judicial system and just overall really how to get justice in general. Okay, you know, you gotta, I mean, regardless of the color of your skin, right? You can be Black and beat cases left and right, but you're gonna have to have some money. Okay, and that's the reality of our system. Okay. So and so, but yeah. Okay. Is that okay? Great.
Now, I didn't use that term, but if I may add also, I personally think that the trust between law enforcement and the community has been shattered. It's been lost for a very long time now. And we're going to have to restore that relationship, the trustworthy relationship. What I always said that empty mind is a devil's workshop. I have 2 kids in the public school. I try to occupy them with some task all the time to educate, so they can educate themselves, that I can educate them, that they don't even get involved in bad things, that they don't have any sick thoughts, right? So what we need to do is to restore that relation where we as a community can trust the law enforcement, and law enforcement can trust the community, build that relationship. We need to have more programs in the schools where they can come in, an officer can come in and provide some educational program for our children to differentiate bad from good. That will help them to stay away as a community members, to stay away from bad things. So it's very important to restore that relationship. More educational programs, to invest on a federal level, federal grants, to invest in communities, to have the educational programs, to rebuild the trustworthy relationship. That's very important.
I'm never going to miss an opportunity to talk. So it's funny because this actually had an epiphany today, because we look at the 10 Commandments up there, right? And we see you shall have no other gods before me. You see shall there a bunch of different times, right? Well, we want to talk about law being nonpartisan. I just read the law and things like that. Well, there's a case back in 2006, I think it was, before the Supreme Court called Castle Rock versus Gonzalez, right? And Justice Scalia, a Republican nominee, argued for 5 hours about what shall means. Because he argued that shall doesn't mean shall, it means maybe. And I'll give you background about the case. What it was is a woman, she had a husband who threatened to kill her. She took out a restraining order against him, and the police ignored her. And she went to him again and again and again, and they ignored her. And then guess what happened? The husband got the kids, took them away from her when she wasn't at home or whatever else, and ended up killing the kids and himself. All right? But he was arguing, and the police said, well, we didn't really have to do it. And so he argued, basically, Scalia argued, shall meant, well, you don't necessarily have to do that. You know, it's their discretion. So you can't sit there and say that I'm just going to read the law the way it says, and I'm going to be unbiased or whatever else. You have a view of the law. We can talk about no-knock warrants. That requires a judge's decision-making at that point in time. Now, the cops come to them with a proof and say, hey, this is what I need to do, and they make a decision, but it's still a decision. It's not, oh, what does it say here in this law book and blah, blah, blah. It requires a subject. It's subjective. It's not objective. So a person's background, their opinion, bias, whatever else matters. You can't just say law and order. Now, I don't know if this directly answers your question, but I will go on the law and order theme here, or topic. Police who have at least 2 years of college education are 70% less likely to have misconduct. So when we talk about going on to the other candidate, he was talking about defunding the police. He's exactly right. It's about refunding the police and not what Kevin McCarthy was saying or whatever. It's a different refund. We've got over-militarization of the police. They've got all these high-tech weapons, George Jetson weapons, right? George Jetson weapons that they don't need to do police for. So most cities, 70 to 80% of their budget goes to policing, right? And policing keeps going up more and more and more as far as budget arguing for that. Take those same funds, stop buying weapons, educate the cops for those who are there, pay for their college tuition, take that money, raise their pay so that being a police officer is a viable option for people who already have education, so you get better candidates, you educate the ones that are there, and then that's how you reduce the misconduct from cops. We can't regulate them. Again, there's police unions. We all like unions. We're all about union busting until it comes to cops, right? We can't fight against the police unions, but what we need to do is educate them. Who's going to turn out a pay increase, right? Pay increase, cops get more educated, less misconduct, and then we don't have as much problems with that. So thank you. BK McGinnis, Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate.
Thank you so much. We appreciate each one that has, well, the one has asked a question and have gotten several responses. And excuse my seating here, but I do want to go ahead and enter anyone else that may have a question. Please feel free to go ahead and come forth at this time. All right, we got some from online, and you have a mic. All right, if you go ahead and read one, and if you know who it's for, please let them know.
Yes, it's for candidate Stockwell. This question comes from Kevin Holcomb. It's a question for her, and it says the Black church is steeped in religious freedom and being able to teach the Bible. Churches are being attacked legally for not accepting liberal views on homosexuality. What is your view on religious freedom and traditional religious views of marriage being one man and one woman?
Thank you very much for the question. Sorry I missed the name, Holcomb, I think it was the last name. Thank you very much for that and directing us to a specific point. Again, Beth Stockwell, running for Superior Court Judge here in Gaston County. Certainly a founding principle of our country, our state, our county, is our ability to have religious freedom, choose to worship where we want to, choose to worship how we want to, and also choose to be able to do that in a manner that we think is important and purposeful for our family. Family also being a founding principle that we have here in our country, to be able to have that family look and be how we want it to be. So I would answer it in that regard, is I think people should have the ability to form whatever opinion they have about religion and form whatever family they choose to have, however that looks. Thank you.
This question is for Mr. Jackson and Mr. Carr. It's from Tyreka Woods. In regards to health care, while pushing for better prices for consumers, will they also advocate proposal for safer nurse-patient ratios to provide safer care for the patient? And will they support the new proposal for federal nursing to patient ratios? And that was for Mr. Jackson and Mr. Carr.
I know he's representing Mr. Jackson, but he's not Mr. Jackson. It's fine if he's going to represent him, but to answer the question, know what he's going to say. I don't think that's really fair to the rest of the cancer show up, particularly those that come up here. So I'm going to ask again, that he doesn't have to answer that question. He's got a website. She can go and ask that question to him. Let Mr. Carr answer the question.
Use the mic, please.
Yeah, just a moment. So since you're the other candidate that's running, would you be opposed to him stepping in for him, or you want him just to go ahead, Carr, and answer? Which one would you like? Say again. Would you mind, or you? Okay, he doesn't mind now. Of course, he's not speaking as he is Jackson, but Jackson sent him as a representative. So I wanted to ask the question. Now, thank you for raising the question. I appreciate it.
I got it right. Okay, all right. Actually, thank you for raising that. I did, just for transparency, I did ask the pastor about that earlier. But since I know to answer this question, I would say that, yes, there is, as you know, a nursing shortage across this country. I actually found out about that nursing shortage actually today because my father is awaiting a bed to get radiation therapy for his cancer in his back. So there is nursing shortage. So definitely Senator Jackson will support that. Senator Jackson also in the state Senate has supported expanding Medicaid, which has also been something that should have been done a while ago. But of course, we could not get that done here. And he also supports expanding and building on the Affordable Care Act.
Okay, so I would take a different approach in general. I think one of the reasons we have a healthcare issue in our country is because we essentially have a two-tiered system. So essentially, if you work for a corporation, which I think about 38% of the working population works for corporations, you essentially get the best healthcare in the country because most corporations, especially the large ones, are self-insured, which means that they basically just put into a fund and then pay a health insurer to manage and administer the fund. Well, so for the rest of the population, that means that everyone else is put into a separate risk pool. And so what's happening is you're taking essentially the healthiest people in the country out of one insurance pool and leaving the unhealthiest people in the other one. And so that affects small businesses. It affects people who can't work for whatever reasons because our healthcare is all tied to having a job. So when I talk about decoupling benefits from jobs, that's what I'm getting at, is decoupling that relationship so that we can put everyone into the same risk pool. And then once everyone's in the same risk pool, then obviously insurance companies still have the flexibility to adjust rates. It would essentially work the same way as the car insurance market, where you still buy whatever insurance you want from from an insurance company for your car, and then you have state and federal oversight of the insurance rates. But I think if we do that, then we are going to drop costs, number one, because again, we put everyone into the same risk pool. Essentially, we put healthier people into the risk pool to drive down rates for unhealthy people is what actually happens. And we also can encourage entrepreneurship and more job mobility because again, we're not tied to a job with our benefits. So that's how I would approach that. And I think in terms of what that means for nursing or any other medical program, you just introduce more competition into the market because you basically put everyone into the market. And again, it's going to work essentially like the auto insurance would work. Thank you.
In America, we have, if I may just split the issue, we have health issue and we have a healthcare issue. Now, with the healthcare, as someone who I was born and grew up in Europe, we have Medicare for all. And I've been advocating for Medicare for all for years. I don't know why so many individuals are afraid of Medicare for all. They're afraid of losing the healthcare system, the insurance, the healthcare insurance that they have right now. I'm one of those individuals, and I have that healthcare insurance for my employer, through my employer. But guess what? From every paycheck, I'm paying my portion. Then I have deductibles. Then I have co-pays. Then when I go to the doctor's office, aside from the financial aspect that I kind of have to go through, I end up negotiating between the doctor's office and the healthcare provider. I mean, the insurance. In the middle. At the end of the day, for what I'm paying, I'm not getting anything in return. The healthcare that I'm paying for, I'm not getting that. So Medicare for all, that's what I've been advocating for years. Today in America, 30 million people in America without any insurance at all. 45,000 people every year, they die from the direct result of not having an insurance. We are the only industrialized country in the world. And trust me when I say this, someone who's coming from overseas, someone who traveled all over the world, we're the only industrialized nation in the world where a household, that's the interesting fact, where a household can file a bankruptcy while having an insurance. While being insured, they file for bankruptcy. How is it acceptable? So we need to switch to Medicare for all. I know it's a long process, but if we look through the Medicare for all with the benefits that Medicare for all provides, it covers pretty much everything, absolutely everything. So I encourage everyone to do your homework, do the research, and stand up for Medicare for all. Thank you.
I'm William. I'm the chapter president for Alpha City here in Gastonia.
Hold on 1 minute.
Yes.
I had two back there, and then I had one more that was going to approach the mic.
This is not a question.
Okay.
This ties to what the person online was saying.
Okay.
I think that we have lost sight of what the question was. I'm an administrator also for a nursing home, and so there is a shortage in nursing staff, which is not tied to Medicare. And so people are not going to school to be CNAs. People are not going to school to be LPNs. Nurses are fatigued, they're tired, there's COVID fatigue. So the question really is, how do we promote our healthcare system with healthcare workers? Yes, we can have Medicare, we can have all these people on Medicare, Medicaid, they can go to nursing homes, but if there's no staff to treat them, and then the state wants to come in and fine us thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for simple things, well, guess what? We don't have staff to do it. So what's the structure in order for us to push and promote for these young people to go to school to be CNAs, to be an LPN without having to come out with $20,000 worth of student loans? That is the root of that question. Thank you.
Wait 1 minute before you leave the mic. I need you to go ahead and put that in a question. Question.
All right, I'm gonna put in a question for you. So I am an administrator, and I have a 90-bed facility. And so our biggest struggle every single day is staffing. We get state agencies that come in periodically to do reviews and to do assessments. And of course, families have the right to call and make complaints. Everything is founded based upon staffing. So what is the solution that you can offer in order for us to promote more staffing for nursing homes at a lower cost, in hospitals at a lower cost?
Staffing for nursing homes. What is the solution? He stood up to give you that answer.
I think I got your answer. Is that, yeah, I think I got your answer. I'm a Democrat, proud Democrat, but I disagree. I think Democrats are good at identifying issues, giving voice to those issues, but I think they're bad with the solutions, and they have a messaging problem with that.
Hallelujah.
Reason why I'm saying this, okay? We're talking about student loans, right? And you even kind of mentioned it because you said, oh, they got student loans or whatever else, right? So we got this whole clamor right now about getting rid of student loans for everybody, right? Okay. Well, the problem is that causes a lot of resentment because if you're not a direct beneficiary of that, then you're going to go, why are they getting free money, right? And this is kind of a side, but if we got rid of student loans, like I think it's like 80% of student loans are owned by doctors and lawyers, so I don't think we need to pay for that, okay? There are work programs to pay off student loans, right? We need more medical care facility workers. We need more teachers. We have all these positions that we don't have that are vital to our economy, and there is no incentive to do it because they're bad jobs. I say bad because bad work conditions, they don't get paid enough or whatever else. Why don't we start linking those, expand that work program so that people who want to pay off their student loans go ahead and goes in those fields. And again, you know, it doesn't need to be long, 5 years, 10 years, whatever else. Maybe they might actually like the field and stay into it. But instead of giving out free money and causing people to get angry because they're like, where's my money? I didn't go to school because I couldn't afford it, you know, or I didn't go to as good of a school because I couldn't afford it. Or I didn't want to go to school. I'm a tradesperson. I'm trying to drive a truck, and you're not paying my truck off so I can sit there and drive this across the country. So let's go ahead and link student loans, expand the programs that they have in place now to cover things like medical care facilities, teaching, other types of professions where they're vital to our society, and we've got a shortage of workers for that. BK McGinnis, Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate.
I don't know the answer to that, but I would just say I don't mind getting questions from folks who aren't here online. But if you want to sandbag one of the candidates that are up here with a gotcha question, how about showing the class and the guts to show up and ask it in person. Kevin.
Yeah.
So we have some essential professions, right? Essential workers, and I believe that qualifies. The nursing home staff qualifies. So, as an IT specialist, I always look at the root cause analysis of the issue. What's been caused? The issue itself. How the issue occurred, right? And what can be done to eliminate that issue. So, as an essential workers that are needed at this point, something that you cannot live without. In my personal opinion, we got to have an educational incentives, right? Student loans, forgiveness, student forgiveness, especially for essential workers. And I think what is the reason for the staff shortage? Is it the salary? Then we're gonna have to make sure the salaries are raised. Same thing for the teachers, right? I've been advocating for teachers for years that the number one reason that we have a shortage in teachers, we gotta have to make sure that incentives, educational incentives provided, as well as the adequate salaries to attract teachers, right? So same thing gotta have to be done in the nursing home. The staff gotta have to be attracted. How? Educational incentives and the salaries, adequate salaries for them to make sure that they can provide for their families. You know what I'm saying? So that is very important. Thank you. And I don't think I called myself. I didn't call my name for a while. Ram Mamadov, Democrat for District 14. Thank you.
Hey, James Carr. So the way I would approach that question is, and I think this is kind of going into one of the biggest complaints today about young people and jobs, is we're trying to fit our needs and our dreams into kids and wanting them to take jobs that we feel need to be taken. And I think that there's a disconnect that, so if you think about like for nursing and kind of thinking about, okay, if I'm going to go through the process of becoming a registered nurse versus working, as a delivery, someone with Instacart or someone with the other delivery companies that are out there, or kind of working multiple jobs, kind of doing whatever, as opposed to saying, you know what, I'm going to spend a lot of time in school getting a degree to do a job that I don't want to do. And I think that's what the disconnect is. And I think we have to be honest about, so if we're talking about a registered nurse and working in a nursing home, and I have quite a bit of experience with nursing homes because, like I said, my parents' age, my mom went to a nursing home, and then I had a lot of relatives who lived in nursing homes. Those are tough jobs. I mean, the reality, those are tough jobs. And so to when we think about incentivizing someone to go into that job, I think we have to look at, and I want to be careful on how I say this, is what are the standards of doing that job? So in some cases, I think, and I know someone who does this where they are an at-home provider where they basically travel around the state and provide care for the elderly. And I think that, to me, is where that focus in a lot of ways should be is, number one, making sure that the elderly can stay at home. The other part is making sure that if we look at the job requirements, does that person need to be a registered nurse? And if they don't, is there some way we can have someone that shadows or works with that person who is registered to sort of oversee the work that they're doing? And I think that's how we have to fix shortages based on reality of, there's a reason why someone may not go into those fields in terms of, especially if it's an educational reason. And so, yes, we can incentivize with, paying off student loans and those types of things. But I think in a lot of ways it's, if I don't have to get the degree and I can still do the work and get the pay and then have someone overlook my work, then I'm gonna be incentivized to go into that job. But if you're saying, no, go to school for however long it takes to become a registered nurse, then I may not have the same motivation. That would be my take on it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We got time for one more, and then there has been a gentleman waiting very patiently. So we're going to go ahead and let you get ready to ask your question in just a moment.
Where's that gentleman? He's not there. Anyways, my name is Eric Hughes, running for North Carolina House of Representatives for District 109. Okay. And ideally, in regards to the shortage on these nurses, okay, probably the best thing we could do to fix that issue is lower the standards just a little bit, the educational standards, okay? And as soon as you do that, you automatically have more people who qualify for that job position. As soon as you lower the educational standards just some, And and of course, this is something that will still be up for discussion, because there will be a lot more that goes into it, but of course, if you lower the standards, you instantly will have more people who meet the requirements. And so and something we could do definitely at the state level is we could use all of our community colleges throughout the state and all of our various communities and install some type of program, and for little to no money, because the North Carolina education system is really, really affordable. If not the most affordable education system in the country, is one of them. Okay, so it's really affordable as is, in all honesty, especially in North Carolina. And but ideally, if we really need nurses, I mean, that's imperative for us to have. We all will get old at some point in time. And I hope when we all get old, I hope all of us have enough nurses to see to our needs, okay? And so, I mean, that's imperative, and that's really important for all of us. So that's something we definitely need to address. That should be something we should address at the state level. We can fix North Carolina, for sure. And I don't think that's something that is too bizarre for us to really tackle and fix that issue. We shouldn't have a shortage on these nurse positions, and it's really important. We all need them, and if we have to tweak the standards a little bit, lower the standards some, the educational standards, then we should do it. And yeah, okay, all right.
Thank you so much. And Glenn, if you want to go ahead and approach the mic now, you've been waiting patiently. Thank you so much. And then right after Glenn and a few have an opportunity to answer his questions, we're going to ask that Charity, wave your hand back there, Charity. You'll go ahead and ask yours after we get a few answers from his.
Thank you very much. I'll be very brief. As a retired law enforcement officer, I've heard a lot of comments about law and order. In today's climate, that is something that is very, very, very touchy. It's happening all over the state, all over the county, all over the United States. When I see a statement or hear someone say that they will always back law enforcement, please, ma'am, please, sir, especially as judges, reconsider that. Law enforcement are just like everybody else. We make mistakes and have to pay for those mistakes. Hold officers accountable. If I would have been one of the officers with the officer that held his knee on George Floyd, I would have tackled that officer as his fellow officer. A lot of times departments don't hold their officers accountable. Good old boy, buddy. I don't know how many of you, especially judges, talk to the DAs about officers that have maybe a problem telling the truth on the stand. When I was working, that came up quite often. Again, I ask you to please, ma'am, please, sir, look into those things. There's also a thing called the Sunshine Law under transparency. Please take all those things into consideration when you're on the bench. That's more of a request more so than a question. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Bratton, also, you and I are brothers in law enforcement. I may have said that I will always back law enforcement. I will back right law enforcement always. And after working 30 years for the Highway Patrol, I knew officers that were not doing what they were supposed to. And you and I both agree that had we been on that street in Minneapolis when we seen what took place there, that someone would have been pulling that guy off. In my agency, I experienced it. I experienced it firsthand. There was times somebody tapped somebody on the shoulder. That's enough. Stop. I'm not saying officers ought to be hurt. They should take care of themselves, as I know you did and I did when I was in law enforcement. But we must hold the agency, the officers accountable always. And we need to continue with diversity and inclusion training. I went through that training. on the highway patrol. That needs to continue. The highway patrol was under a federal decree when I joined the highway patrol. So at that time, it was not almost, literally 50% of my class were African American or black officers, and the rest of us were white, and we actually had the first Asian American in my patrol school. So the patrol was under the federal order to hire more black officers. That was a hiring issue, but certainly accountability. I believe Democrat, Republican, black, white, other, we all want law and order in our communities. We need to ensure that they're doing what they're supposed to every day, all the time. And so I will stand up for that in my position at North Carolina House. In my position as county commissioner, I will demand that from our law enforcement always.
As a licensed therapist, I help write the behavioral health first responders program for the City of Greensboro Police Department in the City of Greensboro. So in funding the police, what we need more social workers and licensed therapists who are part of that law enforcement team. Many of the calls that law enforcement take locally, those are not really law enforcement issues. They're behavioral health, mental health issues. Some of the most volatile calls are those of domestic violence. And so many times in the minority community, when law enforcement is involved, to some degree, there's an overreaction. And those problems can be resolved. I took the first 2 calls for the City of Greensboro, helped write the program. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. As a civilized society, I want to encourage us to look for more best practices, evidence-based solutions, because science and psychology is informing us in regards to human behavior. In our studies, we saw there's an interrogation technique that law enforcement was trained on 3 decades ago called the Reed technique. I'm sure y'all heard of that. And now science is showing us that really it's kind of junk science, because MRI shows us how the amygdala work, how the prefrontal cortex, the frontal lobe, and we know you can't determine a person's guilt by looking at their eyes. Science has caught up with it. And so as a United States Senator, what I would advocate for is evidence-based best practices. The science and data does not lie. And that will make it a level playing field. It will help us weed out bad law enforcement. It will help hold judges accountable. And I believe in a database. On my website, there should be a law enforcement malpractice database. In order for me to practice as a psychotherapist in North Carolina and in Virginia, I have to pass, I'm in a state database showing that I'm licensed and there's a clear record. But there's also a registry for those who have bad behavior. It needs to be the same for law enforcement. You should not have bad behavior in Mecklenburg or Gaston County, then come up to Gifford County and we don't know anything about that bad behavior. Common sense accountability as a civilized society will help things become a whole lot better and help heal some wounds in our community. And that's what I'm about. Thank you.
So it looked like we got 2 more responses and then Jared.
Thank you for the question, comment. I'm, again, Beth Stockwell, running for Superior Court Judge. As a current Assistant District Attorney here in Gaston County, I want to address the comment regarding the potential statement. I don't know if it was directed towards my campaign or not. I know that there's some video ads that my campaign have just recently released that talk about the support of law enforcement. And I think, like Mr. Worley just mentioned, I don't think any of us as candidates would stand before our constituents and say a blanket statement that we would support something, whatever that is, always. I think the intent behind those statements, and certainly statements that I've made on behalf of my campaign, are for when things are done correctly and properly. Always supporting law enforcement, certainly, if those officers are doing the right thing, if they've been trained properly, doing their job and doing it well, then us as prosecutors, us as judges, have to follow the law and have to support the decisions and the efforts that they are making. What I would also add is that there is a case, United States versus Giglio, that addresses that issue specifically. When there are officers who maybe haven't been trained properly, or who don't behave in the way that they've been trained, or the way that they should as law enforcement officers, again, based on their training. There are policies and procedures, and that is becoming more the forefront as we are dealing with those issues with law enforcement at the current time, current culture. Gaston County DA's office has a Giglio policy. DA's offices across the state should have Giglio policies. If they don't, they need to get one. It teaches us and gives us a policy and procedure for how to deal with officers who may have made mistakes, who may have acted on a mistaken belief, or may have in fact just acted wrongly against their training. And as the other gentleman said, creating scenarios where officers aren't able to have an error in one jurisdiction and then be able to just move to another jurisdiction and wipe the slate clean. We need to keep track of that information that is going on, giving those officers, just as any other person who comes before a court is given the opportunity to be given notice, be able to provide a defense or justification, officers deserve the same policy and procedure to be put in place for them as well. They need to be given notice when they are alleged to have done something wrong, and the ability to defend themselves as well, so that every person is given the equal opportunity to defend their rights and defend their actions. So again, please take the opportunity to look up Giglio, find out what your Giglio policy is in your state and your county. Again, Beth Stockwell for Superior Court Judge. Thank you.
I want to get back to what I mentioned earlier about the Uniform Crime Reporting Database. And so one of the things that's happened throughout my career, starting with the Air Force and through corporate America, is that I get pretty much a yearly review where I have to go in and basically discuss what have I done for the past year. And so there is a record that is maintained on what I have done. And I think when we look at what goes on in the court system, it's great to say that we're going to try to do the right thing, but if it's not measurable, you really don't know. So if a police officer comes in, and yes, this one police officer can come in and either lie or whatever, tell the truth, be an upstanding citizen, whatever, but that still doesn't mean that there's not a pattern of behavior. And if there's no way to track that behavior, then you really would never know. And that's what I mean by the database, is that there's too much ambiguity into the system to actually trust the system. Because again, we can go in with the best of intentions, but if we don't have a way of measuring what job did that person do, if I moved from a different county, if it should be pretty simple for me as a hiring officer to say, well, let me look at this person, because you can do that with a credit report. They certainly do it with anything you mention on social media. Your life is tracked, so you cannot get a job in this country without someone doing some kind of background check on you. And so the idea that, again, for a hiring police officer, just to be able to look in the database and say, what was a pattern of behavior for this particular officer, I think that makes the system much more trustworthy. So thank you.
BK McGinnis, Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate. So going to what you were saying as far as police misconduct, whether intentionally or not, intentionally or inadvertently, we've talked about a lot of topics tonight. And so when we're talking about police misconduct, it's talking about policing. We talked about healthcare inadvertently. We talked about getting people into jobs. I talked about student loans. And in all these cases, and I already kind of tackled the policing thing from the top, incentivizing or behavior modification by paying people more, educating them more. But all these topics are based upon, we're always trying to tackle these things by saying, let's reduce costs, let's reduce healthcare costs, let's reduce college costs, let's reduce, I know I'm putting back there, college costs, why do people commit crimes? Because they don't have any money, right? So why do we keep talking about trying to reduce costs? Why don't we put money into people's hands and then they won't commit crimes? And I'm not going to try to put you out of a job because you are retired, so you don't have to worry about that. Well, why don't we put money into people's hands, right? My solution, American Profit Sharing Plan. It was imagined by Reverend Martin Luther King, right? It was brought to the forefront today in this time by Andrew Yang in 2020. But basically, American Profit Sharing Plan. It's a universal basic income program. We basically put dollars into people's hands, and guess what? They can work in a healthcare field that doesn't pay that much because they still can pay their bills because they want to do it. They can be a teacher if they want because they're still getting paid, even though I think teachers still should get paid more above and beyond that. People won't commit so many crimes because guess what? They don't have to rob, kill, and steal in order to get it. So why don't we put more money into people's hands, solve it by that, rather than some of these other things? I'm BK McGinnis, your Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate.
Thank you so much. We had one more internet request, and we're going to go ahead and let Ashley go ahead and take care of that now. Right after that, Charity, come forward.
Would you mind asking the question again? I'm sorry. Before I just spout a bunch of nonsense.
No problem. Kevin Holcomb, right. Question for candidate Ashley, the same question on religious freedom. What is your views on religious freedom as it relates to pastors being able to teach the Bible without modification? And do you agree with the traditional definition of family as God ordained it?
Okay. Ashley Hyman, running for District Court Judge here in Gaston County. I'll start with the first portion of that question, I believe. Should ministers be allowed to teach however they see fit? I do believe that. I am a proud member of the Lutheran Church of the Holy Comforter in Belmont, where our 2 children were baptized. I believe in what my pastor preaches every Sunday. It comes directly from the Old Testament and the New Testament. These are the laws, our very first laws given to us by our Creator, and I believe any member of a religious organization should have the ability to teach how they see fit to their congregation and their members that believe the same or don't believe the same. That is one of our constitutionally protected rights, religious freedom, and I believe that you should definitely have that and would uphold it. Regarding a traditional family, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't know what a traditional family is. I have a husband, a daughter, a son, and a golden retriever. We're there. I get it. I understand. But I also believe that what you do behind your doors with the people you love is none of my business. That as a judge, as long as you are not breaking the law, your personal matters are not an issue of mine. I don't care who you love, how you love, as long as your love isn't breaking the law by doing, I don't know, speeding and drinking and driving while you're involved with your partner. Whatever. Again, as long as you're not breaking the law, it's not my position to tell you what to do. It's certainly not my position to judge you as a Christian. There's one person that can do that, and it is not me, and I will never pretend to have that authority. So thank you.
It's very simple, Kevin. Congress shall pass no law respecting the establishment of a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Thank you. Jesse Caldwell for Superior Court Judge.
All right, Charity, you've been very patient. Thank you. If you'll come forth and give your question in the mic. Primaries are different, aren't they?
Hello, everyone. My name is Charity Crawford. I'm a senior at Ashbrook High School. And my concern is really just with my concern is really just for my generation. I sit in classes pretty much every day, and I hear people not really interested in politics. They're like, I'm not even registered to vote. I don't really care. Because in their mind, they feel like politicians are just crooks and they all have their own agenda. And it's really concerning since we're the next generation. So, I mean, how are you guys able to like get that out of their head, like that mindset out? Like that you are on their behalf, you're advocates for them. That's really my question and concern. It's kind of sad. And it's for everybody, it's not just one person.
I think that's a great question, okay? Because I've heard that a lot. I've heard many people say, that they don't vote and they don't think it matters and things of that nature. And I think the number one way we can fix that is getting you to run for some political office. Okay, people like you, right? Though, so regular people who people know that just as a genuine good person, and we need you to run and be yourself. When you run, don't try to be like the people who came before you, right? Because obviously they aren't cutting the mustard, right? Obviously they're not doing what they should be doing. If they were doing what they should be doing, things would be a lot better. More people would be believing in the system, in our democracy, and that more people would be voting and things of that nature, right? So, and to some regard, they have kind of failed in some regard. I mean, let's just be honest. But they've done okay. At least they ran, right? At least they did the most important thing. Somebody has to do it, right? So as long as we have people just not even trying, not even putting their name on the ballot, right? Which is your right. You can do it, and they can do it. And those same people who say that politicians are corrupt, those are the people we need to put their name on the ballot and to run for office, right? So so be the change you want to see, right? So I think that's the best advice I can give you. So as a young generation, you need, and I'm part of you guys, right? I'm on the end of. I mean, you might be like Generation X or probably generation after me, because I'm like some of the final millennials. But anyways, yeah, be the change you want to be. I mean, that's the best advice I can tell you. And your community needs you. People need you. All people of all colors, all creeds. We all need genuine good people. But when you get in the position and you go for what you want, make sure you stay true to who you are. Okay, that's important. Okay, and you know that's very important. All right. Okay, so did I answer your question? Okay, awesome. And I'm Eric Hughes, and I'm running for District 109 of North Carolina. All right, House of Representatives. All right, well,
thank you.
Ram Mamadov, District 14 congressional candidate. So, you know, I read once that Abraham Lincoln said, the best way to predict the future is to build one. And you kind of answer your own question that the future belongs to you. Now, I totally understand what you're saying, that, you know, younger generation, we're losing hope for the future, right? As our needs go unmet. That is extremely important. When people say that, why should I vote? No matter who I vote for, nothing changes, everything stays the same. I had a situation once where in one of the counties, a young lady approached me saying that I'm not registered to vote because I've seen that pretty much same answer, that I'm not voting, nothing changes. And I asked her, I said, have you ever lived outside of this district or outside of the county? No, I always lived here. So you've never seen the changes? No. Well, the problem is because you never voted. So what we're gonna have to do as a voter, and I'm a voter myself, I always do my homework on each candidate. If I see the candidate for the first time 2 weeks before the election day, on the TV ad or the signs 2 weeks before the election, when I never heard that candidate, he never knocked on my door, I never spoke to him, that candidate is not serious to me. So, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna have to do our research, our homework. And your vote counts very much. You know why? Because if it didn't count that much, they wouldn't try to restrict your voting rights. They wouldn't try to restrict the minorities' voting rights. And I always said that as a minority as we are, and I consider myself also as a minority, as an immigrant, as a minority as we are, we hold the majority of the power of the vote. And that is the reason that they're trying to restrict it. Keep them sick, keep them poor, keep them uneducated. They wouldn't even think about voting. So because when you're hungry, what's on your mind? Voting is Voting is the last thing on your mind when you're hungry, when you don't have a job, when you don't have an education, when you're thinking that how I'm gonna put the food on my table, how I'm gonna feed my kids, how I'm gonna feed my family, right? So it is, you have that power. So don't give up. Don't give up. As you know, the future might seem a little bit cloudy, but we're gonna have to clean that cloud. You know what I'm saying? And you have that power. So don't ever give up. Register and vote, please. Thank you.
B.K. McGinnis, Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate. Answering your question, right? And your vote does count, right? But it's not going to count. That is why I'm running. Republican state legislatures around the country, 21 of them, since the 2020 election have used fake fraud claims of election fraud to pass voter suppression laws. 29 Republican state legislatures have gerrymandered maps so bad that even if they get one more seat, they will be an avalanche. We won't be able to hold the House of Representatives for generations. We've seen it even here in North Carolina, right? We've got a 50-50 state here as far as split between the two parties. And we had a state legislature, Republican state legislature, try to draw a 10-3-1 map. 10 Republican districts, 3 Democrat districts, and a toss-up. So worst case scenario, they're going 10-4. Best case scenario, you got 11-3. Your vote's not going to count then, right? You're not being represented. How are 50%, we've all done math, right? How does 50-50 equal 10-4? 66%, right? It doesn't. It doesn't, right? So the voting, it matters, and this is the problem. What you're talking about is apathy, okay? And this is the problem that we're having going right now. I can't talk about it on the local level, but I can talk about it at the state. I just talked about the state, and I can talk about it on the federal level. Republicans do not believe in the federal government. They are actively working against the federal government because they realize they're outnumbered, right? They want to take the power back to the states. We've talked about a couple topics today. There's what's known as the Equal Protection Clause in the 14th Amendment. I can't believe I'm the non-lawyer in here and I've talked more about law today than all these other judges, okay? Equal Protection Clause. It gives the right for everybody to be treated equally under the law, right? That is why women have the right to their body, because men have the right to their body. That is why women have access to birth control, because they can do whatever they want with their body. That is why there is interracial marriage, the Equal Protection Clause. That is why there is gay marriage, Equal Protection Clause. Even the voting rights of African Americans and minorities, even though it's guaranteed in the 15th Amendment, actually, most of the cases about voter suppression are using the Equal Protection Clause. So the problem is, at the same time too, if you're arguing against any one of those, if you are not a white male and you are voting, or you are arguing against one of those things, then you are arguing against yourself. And that's the problem. So, and people think, oh, that's never going to happen. Apathy. It doesn't matter what's going to happen. Well, that's because nothing happens because Republicans are working against us. But the problem with that, at the same time too, what's the train of thought? The reason why that is important is you think we can't lose those rights. We already have them, right? Well, guess what? Republicans are trying to steal it. They've already given you the game plan, right? When Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was going through her hearings, they talked to Senator Mike Braun in Indiana, and he said, they asked him a question. They said, do you believe gay marriage should be decided by the federal government or it should go to the states? And he said, it needs to go to the states. And then the reporter was pretty good because he's like, well, okay, so, because he knew about the Equal Protection Clause. What about interracial marriage? And he's like, oh yeah, interracial marriage, women, Roe v. Wade, all that should go to the state. They don't want a federal government, and they are actively working against the federal government. And that's the problem, because it goes to the states. That is the job of the federal government, is to protect every citizen in the United States, no matter what state they are from. So I don't know what to tell you. I understand where there's apathy, because you sat there and seen 40 years of stuff not being done because you got one half of the country working against you, cheating, lying, trying to prevent things happen. So of course, but understand this. If you don't do something, those rights are going to be taken away. You may not be able to vote. You know, we say, oh, vote, vote, vote. Guess what? You may not be able to vote in 10 years, 15 years. You've got to go do that now. You've got to realize this stuff. You've got to go listen. I mean, yeah, you got to vote now. You got to vote now. Look at the candidates, find out why it's important, and do something about it. Because here's the problem. And I talked about this with some of the college students here recently. So many people, and I get it, people get their lives and stuff like that, and they want to focus on what's important to them. You know, if someone wants a family paid leave or maternity leave, they're going to worry about that. When are they going to worry about that? When they think about having a family, right? But it's going to take 10 years, maybe even 20 years to put that legislation in place and get it in place. Past the time that they're going to actually be able to have their families or whatever else. So issues that you don't think are important to you now are going to be important to you in 10, 15, 20 years from now. So you need to start voting on those issues now. So when it comes your time, you're going to have that paid family leave, national paid family leave program, and you're going to be able to take advantage of it and not miss out on the vote because you just started worrying about it when you're about to have a baby. I'm BK McGinnis, your Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate.
She had a little bit of a follow-up. It is 8:55, so I quit at 9 and give everybody an opportunity to mingle and continue the conversation. I'm going to pull pastoral privilege and daddy privilege. That's my daughter. And you see she's here, and that's part of what needs to be. You need to bring the children, and those that can't be need to be watching online. We got to serve this present age. Yes, ma'am.
You guys answered the question, but you guys, some of you guys were using terms that I'm not familiar with. But so I guess I should rephrase it. What can we do to get them more active? Because right now, no interest at all. They could care less. So is there? I know you guys hold like these free events, and there's I'm like only here my age, but like, what can we do to pull them like? I guess that's my question, because the answers were spot on in a way, but that was my concern. Like, what can we do to get them out here to say, hey, I need...
Yes. So I'm going to ask the president to answer that question. And right before he does, I'm going to let you go ahead. You were sitting on the edge of your seat. You got 30 seconds.
All right, so in my utopia world, the day we vote will be a national holiday. I think if you want to talk about why no one thinks about voting, because we treat it as if it's a contract day. So on this day, we're going to vote and we get the contract we like or dislike. The problem is we don't treat it as the special day that it actually is, the day when we get to have a voice in our government. I think just celebrating the day, regardless of who you're voting for, just getting out with people who disagree with you, just in a family atmosphere, representing that what makes America a great country is what the second Tuesday in November, or what the first Tuesday in November. That is the special. That is what makes America special and unique, and we need to celebrate that day. I think you'll see young people and all people coming out to celebrate what makes us special.
Thank you so much. As our president gets ready to approach, I do want to go ahead and say this, and then I'll come back up and I'll have closing prayer. I want to thank everybody for the way that we've behaved in here on tonight. I mean, sometimes things can get a little hectic or a little bit, but for the most part, I want to commend each and every one of you, and I want you to hang around as I've asked to 9:30 so that you can go around and you can ask some different questions. I'm going to ask that you would touch bases with him about the healthcare situation that you have brought up. I appreciate it if you would do that, and we'll move on from there. So our president's going to come. He's going to take just a moment, and then I'm going to come back and have closing prayer.
Thank you, Dr. Crawford. To address your question, there are organizations, fraternities and sororities that need to get you guys involved in projects way before election to stimulate you and to get you interested in doing going to vote, because again, we sit at home until the year before voting, and then we try to get everybody involved. It should be an ongoing process, and we should try to get as many young people involved in that process through organizations such as the Progressive Coalition, fraternities and sororities, that would try to make sure that you're educated first of all, and then that you're energized, because again, your energy is needed. Your energy and your vote is needed to make sure the process continues. I just wanted to try to answer just one quick question with my young man about the nursing shortage in nursing homes and things. This came about 2.5 years ago when the pandemic hit. Burnout, psychological fatigue, all that stuff happened during this pandemic. And then on top of that, people start saying that you don't have to go to work because now the government's going to give you money to stay at home. Okay, and so now when you got the money to stay at home, you don't have the incentive to go back to work. And that therein lies the problem. Again, one thing that we can do is, again, look at the time in which we're in and say to ourselves, how do we motivate a whole generation of people to go back to work? That's the problem that we're facing. How are we going to motivate them? And so maybe incentives, maybe signing bonuses. You know, there was a time where you saw McDonald's was paying $500 for a signing bonus. Something to that nature to get you involved back into the working process, because we have become lazy, a lazy nation over the last 2.5 years, because somebody decided that they wanted to pay you to stay home. Amen. I think if we get back on that track, and I wanted to address the judge, the young lady that's running for judge. Okay. My friend said that he has a nonpartisan platform, because there is no Republican or Democrat that comes before him. There are people that come before him. But twice tonight you have said that you are a Republican, and that scares me. I need you to be a person of nonpartisanship when I come into your courtroom, if I come into your courtroom. I don't need you to say to me that I'm a Republican, and now my mind is thinking that, well, then she's not going to hear me, first because of the color of my skin, and second because of who I am. Okay, so I need you to understand that that affects us as a minority race, for you to stand and run for a courtship, a judgeship, and then tell us what affiliation you're running with. That bothers me. I'm through. Thank you, sir.
Come on and give each one of these candidates a hand. We could have went on and on and on and on and on, but as I promised, right there at 9 o'clock, I want to cut it off. But this is why I asked for you to stay for at least 30 minutes after, so that some of the questions that you couldn't get a full answer on, you can go ahead and mingle and touch bases with everybody, so that you can try to get some better understanding and support for the office that you are seeking or looking for re-election. I also want to, all the judges, please make sure that you see me, because I got some questions. I just didn't have time to go ahead and try to do it since I'm hosting. But I definitely need to know how I can help those in the congregation and in our community. How can I help them to be able to get a job when they got a record? So we need to figure out something, because as I go and visit the prisons and the jails, a lot of times we got a saying from the Beverly Hillbillies: don't come back now, you hear? And, not come back, you hear? Don't come back. And so they get out and they try to go ahead and get a job. And the first thing people look at, have you ever committed a felony? And then it goes in the trash. So I need to figure out some kind of way. I need somebody to help me. Whether it's on whatever level you are running on, I need help to get my people a job so that they can go ahead and do what they need to do. So I'm not trying to put nobody on the spot right now. I just need help. It's genuine. Lastly, I do want to go ahead and say this as well. We're looking forward to October the 3rd. On the table up here, please make sure before you leave you get, a flyer, save the date flyer, so that you can go ahead and let everybody and anybody that's running that makes it past the primary to be able to go ahead and be here on October the 3rd, so that you can have this part of the political forum. Pretty much the same format. We won't have no mess. Amen, somebody. We're looking, every tub ought to be able to sit on its own 4 feet. That's old-fashioned talk. You ought to be able to stand up and say what you believe and what you're running for, and the other fella or other lady will look bad all on themselves. And you don't have to try to make them look bad if they're bad. That makes sense? All right. With all hearts and minds are clear, we're going to go ahead and have closing prayer, and please stay till 9:30. Let us pray. Father, we thank you. Even though we know that in the political realm you have various people that serve in various capacities, we pray now, Lord, that you would help us to remember at the end of the day we live here in Gaston County. And we want to see Gaston County be the best we can be for our friends and our neighbors and our loved ones. Help us, Lord, to do what's right. Help us, Lord, to search our heart and to make sure that we come before you and ask you, Lord, is this what you would have me to do as I serve? We pray, Lord, that protection and safety around all of those that are running. We pray that you would help them, Lord, that when they get into office, to remember those that put them in. No one gets in by themselves. They have to be elected. They have to be able to run and do what needs to be done. So, Lord, help them as they serve. Remember, Lord, that you taught us that the greatest among us are our servants. So help us to serve you well in our homes, in our communities, in our schools. Lord, in any position that we have, we thank you and we need you. Bless us as we leave this place, but never from your presence. And it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. We pray that you have a good night. Thank you for watching. Thank you all for coming. And we look forward to interacting with you now. God bless you.